Few seconds, I'll let you know. All right, you should be good to go.
Okay, very good. I want to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September 22nd, 2021. And if you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, very good. The agenda, the next thing on the here is our roll call. Noreen, if you could do the roll call. I did get a call from Commissioner Sobieski. He was not feeling well, and so he's been excused. He's not going to be able to attend. He has some laryngitis. Wish him the best. And he did give me some concerns on one of the applications for the commission. So
Commissioner Payne, Stanley called me and I'm sitting in for him.
Okay. So we will, Noreen, if you could do the roll call, please.
Okay.
Chairman Payne,
Here.
Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Here.
Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Braverman,
Here.
Commissioner Gill, Commissioner Haggerty.
Here.
All set.
Okay, very good. And we will sit Commissioner Braverman in for Commissioner Sobieski. And the next thing on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Renata, do you see any reason why we have to change anything?
No, Mr. Chair.
No? Okay, very good. We'll go to public participation. If there's anybody from the public for items not listed on the agenda, speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Within the Zoom application, raise your hand if you would like to participate during public participation. If calling into Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. Please state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we will move on from the public participation to remarks by commissioners. Is any of the commissioners have any remarks at this time?
I have one thing.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just want to, I know it's from me, and I know we have a past member, Mike Camillo, whose father passed away, and just wish everyone, wish the Camillo family our condolences as a commission. I feel everyone can agree on that. He was a past member here, and you know, we're sorry for your loss, Mike, and we hope all is well.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Claffey. That's well said. Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we're going to go into the public hearing section. We have procedures for the public hearing, and if Commissioner Havens could read those, please, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Procedures for public hearings. The order of proceedings at public hearings shall be as follows. A, convening by chairman. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or a commissioner designated by the chairman to act in his stead. C, identification and location of the property involved by the town planner. D, a statement of the issue to be considered by the chairman or the town planner. E, presentation by applicant, limited to 20 minutes unless a specific extension is granted by the chair. F, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application, limited to 2 minutes per person. G, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. H, rebuttal by the applicant, limited to 5 minutes total. I, rebuttal by the opposition, limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairman whether the time limitations should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance. In no case shall an extension be for more than 20% of the allotment indicated above, or 1 minute, whichever is greater.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. If you could also read the first petition, petition 39-21, please.
Certainly. Petition 39-21, special permit, section 3.4.9, to allow creation of an interior lot to convert 2 non-conforming lots with respect to frontage into 2 conforming lots at 268 Willard Ave. Applicant Glenda Lara. Contact Jessica Lara. Owner Glenda and Jose Lara.
Okay, thank you very much. Is the applicant there?
Yes, William Johnson. I have the 272.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead, Mr. Johnson. And if you could just explain to everybody a little bit, we all have maps. And if you could explain what you'd like to do.
Well, their backyard, I've been here for 26 years, has always been my front yard. My front yard has always been their backyard. I have the carriage house for the 2 houses in the front. And I don't even have a door that faces Willard Avenue. So my backyard, my side yard is their backyard. I have a playground in it. I don't even have a way to get to the front yard, if you understand what I mean. Dominic, you've been over to the Nelson house.
Yes,
you know how the property's kind of set up. They use my front yard. I bought this house 26 years ago, and it was set up like that when I bought it. The Kraskowskis that used to own the Laura's house, it was like that when they bought the house 15 years before that. So for at least 50 years, this has been set up like this. And my neighbors are thinking of selling their house, and I would hate to lose my stuff and they would hate to lose theirs. We share a common driveway. And it just totally makes sense. If you lived here, you would understand how everything's set up. If I had to put a playground up in front, I wouldn't even have a door or a way to get to it. And it would be on the other side of their driveway, basically. Yeah, it's always been. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it is. It's not very clean of a division of the properties.
Yeah, it's really not. And I've been here. I've owned the house for 26 years. I actually bought it from Esther Eddy, and I rented it from her for a year. And that side yard, their backyard, is the yard I've always used. And it's beautiful. All my landscaping's there. All their landscaping is up in the front.
So they have a map up right now. Is that what you're proposing to split it, or is that the way it is now?
No, well, that's actually how we want to split it, and that's actually how we exactly use it.
Okay. So you have a couple things that would be in the way of the split. How's that work?
What would be in the way?
Is a deck? The property line would go through the deck of the back of the house? Or?
No. The orange, the red line now is the way it is. We would be changing it.
Right, I can explain, Dominic. I did this map. The orange line, like the applicant says, is the current lot line of record. And you can see the green are those items that go with that house. So you can see that he has stuff on the other property. So what they're proposing, you can see the other lot line, the new lot line, and I can bring up the other map when we're done. I just wanted to show you that non-conformance. as it currently exists.
And all their landscaping, and they have benches and stuff for the kid to play on. That's all on, say, my side of the orange line. It's always been set up like that. I didn't even know it was like that till I bought the house.
Mhm. So Eric, could you bring up the other map that shows how they want to do it, please?
So it would be the dotted lines.
There you go.
Okay, so the dotted line would be one place, and then you'd have that, and and it looks like there would be a stretch all the way to Stoddard too?
That is actually my driveway.
Okay. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes. And that's actually a common driveway, kind of, for all three houses. We've all signed papers for the Nelson house, the Laura house, my house, the Johnson house.
Okay.
When they bought it, and there's also a driveway that goes to Stoddard that's
Right.
behind it, and we've signed right-of-ways for everything on it.
Okay, very good. Why don't we get a staff report from either Eric or Renata on this, and then we'll go to questions and then the public.
Sounds
So
good.
I think I can take you, Mr. Chair. As you can see, these conditions, the physical conditions on these two properties are not proposed to change at all. There is no proposals for creation of any new lots. This is just to rectify historic use of the two properties. Eric and I have reviewed this, and Eric mainly reviewed it for compliance with our special permit requirements for creation of these kind of interior lots. This application meets all those requirements. If you look on the map, they even made a little jag to make the shed conforming so that that shed is not on the property line, which would create what is now greatly non-conforming, a little less non-conforming. Creation of or approval of this interior lot will actually allow them to continue using their property as they always did. But their properties will be compliant with the zoning regulations. As you can see, there is a number of structures that are located on the currently incorrect lots. So they will fix all that, and we recommend approval.
Okay, very good, Renata. Thank you very much. Is there any questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, we'll go to the public. Is there anybody from the public?
Chairman?
Yes,
I do just have a quickie.
certainly. Go ahead, Commissioner Fox, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chairman, Mr. Johnson, on the print, I see the jog there. That looks really nice, but looks great. But you've got a note that said you're going to be moving the shed 5 feet off the property line.
I can do that.
No, well, it says you have, as long as nobody complains, you've got a little 5 feet notice here. I don't see why you would even want to move it as long as,
I'm sure my neighbors, it doesn't bother them a bit, but if I ever needed to move it, I'd move it.
So,
It's only-
I have a question.
That's what I was saying. I don't think you'd have to move it.
I don't think I would have to either, but
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman.
You're welcome, Commissioner Fox. I think it's being set up so that nothing has to be moved, if I'm not
correct,
mistaken. Correct, Eric?
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I believe when the original survey came in, that notation was there, and then I had them jog the line to make it 5 feet. They probably just forgot to remove the notation because they did clear it up by adjusting the lot line.
Okay, okay, that explains that. Thank you. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? All right, hearing none. If there's no objection, I believe this is something that would be very good to do. It cleans up the non-conformities that are on the properties, and I would suggest that someone make a motion to move petition 39-21 to old business for possible action.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Fox. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Havens.
And seconded by Commissioner Havens. Any questions from the commissioners? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next petition, public hearing, is petition 38-21. If Commissioner Lenars, if you could read that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Petition 38-21 zoning text amendment, section 6.16 regarding the adult use cannabis sales in the B-BT zone and cultivation in the I zone. Applicant and contact Newington TPZ.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I'll turn this over to Renata.
So as you will see in a moment when my memo gets displayed on the screen, this proposal is a reaction to the newly adopted statutory changes that now allow several things with regards to cannabis. We are entitled to regulate land use related matters on cannabis sales and productions, and that is what and then I'm talking about recreational use cannabis, as not to confuse it with what we previously allowed under our medical marijuana regulations. So under this new law, the commission essentially has, or the town has essentially three options. We can prohibit establishments that sell and produce cannabis for recreational use altogether. We can establish reasonable restrictions regarding the hours and signage within the limits of such municipality. And we can establish restrictions on proximity of these establishments to other regulated establishments. I, in my memo, talk about the proposed regulation that I am putting in front of you for review and discussion tonight, and perhaps vote. Under what I envisioned under this proposal, I essentially used our medical marijuana regulation, which controls production and sale of medical marijuana by special permit, and into that inserted several sections with regards to the sale and production of cannabis for recreational use. If we do not do anything, if we decide not to regulate this at all, we will be required to review these uses as we review the most similar use in that zoning district. It probably would be the sale of liquor that I would use. Then again, it depends on what an application proposes and what actual application makes this use similar to. If we regulate it as I'm proposing we do, then each application for recreational sales or production would have to come to the commission for a vote. Eric, if you can move on to the red line copy, and I will just go over elements that I put into this. And again, when this gets displayed, you will see text in black and text in blue on your screen. I have edited some sections dealing with obviously medical marijuana, but essentially I'm taking everything that's applicable for the medical marijuana also to be applicable to the sales and production of recreational cannabis. I have included number of definitions. These are directly off of this new law that came past. I copied them. I didn't try to come up with my own definitions for this. And then if you move on to the next section, Eric. So as you can see, this regulation will apply. It currently applies to medical marijuana dispensaries and production facilities. I'm making this section applicable also to the cannabis retail and hybrid retail facilities and micro cultivators and cultivators. I'm copying the language that we have in medical marijuana, where we refer back to the state law that governs the sale and production, and also gives you the authority to regulate it. And proposing, and this is the essence of it, I'm proposing that sale of recreational cannabis be allowed by special permit in business BT zone, so business Berlin Turnpike zone. I'm proposing that micro cultivator and cultivator facilities be allowed by special permit in industrial zone only. I'm further including all of the restrictions. So Eric, if you scroll up a little bit or down, I'm sorry. So I'm proposing that all of the distances that are applicable to sales of sale and production of medical marijuana also apply in this case, except that I have added under subsection D on your screen, this additional provision, which essentially says that these retail and hybrid retail stores cannot be located less than 500 feet from another use. And I'm measuring this door to door. Right now, under this new law, we can have two retailers. The hybrid facilities are not actually regulated. So we as a community do not have a limit on how many hybrid facilities we have. However, medical marijuana dispensaries are, and in order to be a hybrid, you have to also sell medical marijuana. So objective is that in case if some 5 years down the road, the state decides to change this limit of number of places we can have for this use, I would not want them concentrated all together, which is why I included this additional provision of 500 feet. I will advise you though that there is no like science behind this. I took 500 feet and the language associated with that directly from our liquor regulation, because I thought that that was the most appropriate. But it's not like I looked into this and 500 was appropriate, but 750 was not. I just used our existing regulations, with which we have experience already. And based on that, I thought that this would be a good approach to go. Now, also, Eric, if you can go back just to the definitions for 1 minute, because I probably should have touched on that. So under these definitions, and you're all welcome, obviously, to read this, but the main distinctions and the main things that could happen in our town are we now have medical marijuana dispensaries, and we allow medical marijuana production facilities. With this new amendment, we will also allow what's called a hybrid retailer. You already approved a hybrid retailer at either last meeting or meeting before that at the existing medical marijuana facility that added a retail to their facility. So that is an example of what hybrid retailer would be. And then we also could have a straight up retailers, straight up stores that sell just that. So, so anyways, to go back to my first point is, if we decide that we are opposed to these kind of sales, we can prohibit them. If we decide that we don't want to regulate them, then they're very likely to be allowed wherever I allow the liquor sales. If we allow them in this way, there are specific regulations, specific distance requirements, and specific rules for that use itself. And I feel that since this is an unknown kind of use that, you know, we don't really have much experience with, perhaps regulating it like this, at least in my opinion, regulating it like this is the best way to start. And then as the time goes, if we need to make a change or amendment, we have a regulation that we can change. So that is my presentation. I welcome questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Renata. Any questions from the commissioners?
I have two questions, Dominic.
Okay, go right ahead, Commissioner Cliff.
On the one question I have, Renata, is why, when you talked earlier in the beginning of your presentation about only allowing, I think it was the growing or the cultivating in industrial zone only, why would we be specific to an industrial zone when there's areas in town with warehouse space that might be in a business zone or in, you know, are we forcing this A into a regulation and then B into a smaller area in our town, which kind of hinders maybe a grow facility that sees a 10 or a 50,000 square foot warehouse is like, hey, we can grow in there, but we can't because it's not an industrial zone. So,
Well, you have a good point there. We're not even the PD zone or anything either. Renata, can you address that?
Yes. So the reason why I initially did not include any other zoning districts is that it is, aside from the industrial zone, I feel that these other zoning districts tend to have areas where they interact very closely to where residential zones are. This type of use, I am not certain whether it produces certain kind of odor or things of that nature. So we are welcome to consider other zoning districts, but for now, I decided to go cautiously with this and to start smaller rather than larger. You as a commission do have a right to consider other zoning districts, and
okay.
you know, if you think they're appropriate, we can.
I think it is something that the commission should consider because there are some sections in town that are not industrial that have some larger open space facilities, but they're just in a different zoning. I totally do agree with you on the you know, depending on how that lot or that area fits to a residential. But again, that's why we have zoning laws. But I don't think it'd be the right thing to kind of shoehorn it into only an industrial zone. Again, that's my opinion. I think it should be open to all business zones that fit appropriately. And secondly, on my page 78, if you could go to under your 6.16.2 definitions, if you go to H, I have a question on H. I don't need to know I guess I need to know what a micro cultivator is. I think I kind of know what it is. But the concern I have here in this, using this definition, if this so is a definition, is that it is again shoehorning a multi-cultivator into a size of an establishment in our community, which to me reads that we are telling you that you can't be less than 2,000 square feet and you can't be more than 10,000 square feet. My concern with that is that there is, you know, is it really a definition with sizing? And then the last sentence after the last comma, it says prior to any expansion authorized by the commissioner. Is that the commissioner of the Department of Consumer Protection, or is that our commission? I think this is a very open-ended definition of micro cultivator, because there might be cultivators out there that do in a huge facility some micro cultivating and some of the normal cultivating. So I am kind of a little lost on this definition here.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can through you answer this?
Please. Yes, please.
This definition for micro cultivator, again, came directly out of that law. They limit, our regulations allow both cultivators and micro cultivators.
Mhm.
So the way I had drafted this in industrial zone, we wouldn't be limiting anybody. The micro cultivators are regulated by number, and the cultivators are not. So the state sets these dimensional or facility size requirements and says, micro cultivators, you can only have 2 per community. However, they're not saying that that's the case for the cultivators. So they will handle that likely through the licensing.
So we're using a definition that then still has to be defined back by somebody else. So if they want to go against our regulation, they have to go back to the commission at I'm just looking at that definition. It's it kind of is open to us. Like we're using a definition that we have no authority over, because it's a definition giving them authority back to the commission that oversees them as a micro cultivator.
All of this goes back to the state. All of this is in the end of this proposal tying back to them actually obtaining license from the state. But the way the definitions are made, the micro cultivator is specifically designed or defined by state, because state will only allow a community of our size to approve 2 of those, no more than 2. So that's where that kicker is. We should have this regulation because the cultivator is also defined by state differently. So if we don't allow both and just allow them in the zoning district, then we are creating that restriction for someone to actually come in and open that business.
So
If I may, Mr. Claffey, too, the cultivator is a larger scale operation too, if you read that definition as well.
No, but I understand that, but I could see possibly the way I've read all this over the months and years is that you could have some cultivators that are also licensed micro cultivators and want to be in the same facility. It's cutting and pasting. I get it. I don't get a definition that we're going to use that goes back to something that's out of our authority to define. That's all. It's the only place I've seen our definition that we resort back to somebody else to define it.
Excuse me. Can we get the definition as explained simply, easily, so that anyone in the public will know what that term is? The cultivator, the micro cultivator, or whatever? Is it possible to get a easier description, explained like I'm 5 years old?
I'm sorry, she's taking the definition right from the state definition. The only thing that
I understand.
If I could, the Commissioner Claffey's comment on expansion at the end of it, it says to any expansion authorized by the commissioner. That should be defined. If it's not us, that should be defined more that it's the commission of
Department of, like you do in the below production
whatever
facility. Yeah, where we put like sections 21A of Connecticut General Statutes XYZ. I guess that's a good way to put it. Thank you.
Yeah. Then Renata, if that could be corrected. Also, are these is this going to be approved by special exception?
Yes, this is all subject to special
So-
permit.
Okay, so if it's all subject to special permit, why couldn't it be allowed in other zones like the PD, Berlin Turnpike, provided it meets some other requirements? It'd be under special exception. So if we had some requirements, it could be opened up to other zones. I'm not sure if the
We
commissioner,
could, we could add that if that's the way the commission.
let's see how, what do you think about that, Commissioner Claffey?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, is that it's a special permit to begin with. Yes, I agree that if it doesn't meet A, B, C, and D, but you know, when you get to a point where you could use, what's the road down by Olympia Diner? You know, there's some vacant land back in there. I'm blowing, I can't think of the street name there. What's that? Payne Road. Sorry, I'm looking right at Mr. Payne. Sorry.
You were doing that purpose.
Payne Road. No, but there's some other areas that you can come back closer to, you know, off Willard Avenue, back off Alumni. There's some vacant that is being used as truck storage right now. Or the Fafner property, if they wanted that facility to cut it up a little more. I don't know the specific zoning over there, but I do like the idea that if it's special permit, it has to come into us. And yes, if it's a budding Newington High School, yeah, maybe we have to think about that piece of land a little differently as we do other land when we come into these kind of finer points of building out the rest of our community. So I think that's a good idea if we could do it that way.
Maybe, I know we had I thought we had 1,000 feet that a production facility had to stay away from a residential zone. Am I,
I mean,
Eric, do you have any information on that?
Not Tom, I was just gonna point out, I think Mr. Claffey asked about the Alumni Road area. That is mostly industrial. There's some commercial zone there, and Payne Road is a lot of mostly PD.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's I wouldn't want to, you know, only put it in an industrial zone. I think that just harms the whole thing, that you're pigeon something into just a specific area and make it seem that we have this regulation. I'd rather see it as, hey, if this takes off, maybe there's facilities in Newington that can be reused, in no pun intended, recultivated into different uses without you know, the general public, you know, even knowing that that's a facility that cultivates or grows or however they want to say it. You know, it's going to look like any other normal building. That's just my thoughts. I don't know what the rest of the commission thinks.
Yeah, let's see if there's any other comments from the other commissioners.
Chairman Payne, quickly, currently under the medical marijuana dispensary, the separation requirements are 100 feet from a church, temple, place of worship, public building, private recreation, school, park, or playground. So that's
I thought the production facility regulation that was put in a long time ago had a long, more than 100 feet.
I'm looking for that, but that's what the
So
separation.
I think that's what this commission needs to try to give you guys is a direction on how far it should be away from residential zones if we allow this by special exception. Let me open it up to the other commissioners for any comments, questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Fox, go right ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to agree with Commissioner Claffey and you regarding pigeonholing. I really don't think that we should just restrict these facilities to just an industrial zone. PD business zones, I think, would be open to it. But through the chairman, Renata, if we do open this to other zones, such as business or PD, would that require some new wording to include marijuana or cannabis cultivating facilities as a permitted use in those zones?
I feel that that would be very prudent thing to do. I mean, you have like right downtown a property that's zone PB that is a manufacturing property that could be perhaps used as a cultivator, but it's not an ideal use for that location. So some additional then rules, if we allow this in zoning districts outside of industrial zone, should probably be considered, such
Yeah.
as distance from the residential zone, such as emission of noise, odor, things of that nature.
Okay, all right, thank you. One more thing, getting back to micro cultivator and the definition. I'm a little confused also, as Commissioner Claffey is, but one question I have is there does a micro cultivator have a limit on the number of plants they can grow? I see they have limits in the amount of property they can use, but do they have a limit in the number of plants they can grow?
That I do not know, but the easiest way to look at the distinction between cultivator and microcultivator is microcultivator is a smaller kind of factory establishment. This has to be inside a building. It's not like growing in the field or anything like that. Like this has to be completely encompassed inside the building. So you can have a smaller building with this operation or a larger building with this operation. And the licenses that state gives are different for the two, and that's why the distinction.
Okay, thank you. I had another question, but it slipped my mind. All right, thank you, Renata. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other commissioners have any questions or comments?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman Payne, I can speak to the separation now if you'd like.
Could you hold off for a minute, Eric? I just want to get the commissioners all set here. Go ahead, Commissioner Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I agree with Commissioner Claffey and Fox that we should open this up to the business and the PD zone. But I think we need to be careful with the distance. I think it needs to be 100 feet. At 1,000 feet, I think we've kind of proved ourselves with that in the past that it basically eliminates pretty much every place in town. So if we're going to use 1,000 feet, I think in the end, we will not have any of these facilities. And I guess you could use Payne Road as a good example because we just turned a section of Payne Road into residential property, correct? Right off Payne Road. So that would wipe out a fair amount of the usable land. Coming to mind, there's actually an empty lot right at that intersection where the apartment complex will be going. So I just think we need to be careful with the distance. And again, if it's by special permit, I think it gives the commission the ability to pick and choose if it's appropriate for that area.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Woods.
Yep.
Commissioner comments? Any other comments? Eric, could you talk, you have the separation?
Yes, currently the regulation reads no medical marijuana production facility shall be allowed on a site that is less than 100 feet from any property that is zoned for single family residential use.
Okay, thank you very much.
Got it.
All right.
And if I can just ask for clarification, just really quick. So the opening this up, so what I hear tonight is we're talking about production, cultivators and micro cultivators. And that is what the commissioner would like us to expand, which zoning district we allow to. Does anybody have any kind of comments with regards to sales? Because I also restricted sales only to be business VT zone.
I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
Good point, Ms. Planner. How was it with the way we set it up prior to your arrival here with the medical marijuana sales? I mean, I know of one spot that's open now, and that's on the Berlin Turnpike.
Dispensaries are allowed on Berlin Turnpike and in industrial zone.
Okay. What, do any of the past or present commissioners remember who was involved with that? I don't know if we changed over boards. I know there was it was very lengthy of discussion on distance for that, so those type facilities up there. So does anyone, I mean, Dominic, you might remember.
Yeah, I do remember. It was controversial on how close it was to the residential zone.
Yeah, I think that was it, but
That
I
was
don't think we got too concerned, or we didn't even think of how we may have pigeonholed it into just those two areas for medical sales.
Mhm.
I think it just went above our head.
Okay, if there's no other comments, this is a public hearing, and we need to see if there's anybody from the public that's wishing to speak either in favor or in opposition. So I'd like to go to the public at this time. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody wishing to speak against this application? Anybody wishing to speak against this application? Okay, hearing none. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I think I'd like to leave this public hearing open and have Renata make some changes and present it back to us at our next meeting. And hello, yes?
I'm just saying I agree. Keep it open.
Oh, okay. So that's what I think. If that's, Renata could make some changes on it, we could present it to us again. We'll leave it as an open meeting for the public, in case there is anybody from the public that would like to comment on it. So I'll leave that to the commission. If you're in agreement, I would entertain a motion for that or something else.
So moved.
A motion made by Commissioner Fox and seconded by Commissioner Claffey. Is everybody in favor of leaving this petition 38-21 open?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll leave this petition open till our next meeting. Okay, next thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes. I'll entertain a approval for a motion for the minutes for TPZ minutes of 09/08/2021.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 8th, 2021.
Motion made by Commissioner Claffey and seconded, I believe, by Commissioner Fox.
Yep.
Any corrections or comments on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next petition is a new business, and it's petition 41-21. Site plan approval at 203 Costello Road, applicant Nadeau Brothers Foundation LLC, owner 203 Costello Road LLC, contact Alan Bongiovanni.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Alan Bongiovanni. I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state of Connecticut. My office is at 170 Payne Road here in Newington. If you don't mind, I'd like to share my screens because I have some presentation drawings to put up.
You should be good to go, Alan.
Thank you. And can everybody see my drawing?
Yes.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. So the subject property is known as 203 Costello Road. It's a vacant lot, lot number 5 of the Costello Industrial Park at the northeast corner of the Costello Industrial Park subdivision at the cul-de-sac just east of Cobblestone Court. if the commissioners remember a few months back, just north of lot 6, where a site plan was approved for Henry Vassal for a similar use on the property. Our proposal here is to develop an 8,500 square foot building to house Native Brothers Foundation. They are currently located in Berlin. They're looking to relocate a portion of the business at this location with a facility to store their trucks and some of the equipment inside, and then some outside storage. The site elevates from Costello Road up to the platform where the building is about 10 feet. To the north, we have some wetlands on the property. There's a little divide in the drainage areas, in that the dark green area north of where we're showing our outside storage actually drains northerly towards the wetlands, and then the remainder of the site and everything that we're going to develop goes to the west and southwest, and will be captured into a storm drainage system that we've designed for the site that will both provide water quality and stormwater detention, so that we mirror post-development conditions, mirror the pre-development condition where we don't have any additional rate of runoff from the property. It's a fairly simple application in that it's a single access driveway. It accesses the site at about 5 to 6% grade, comes into a parking area. We're going to have 7 parking spaces. It's a small company and the parking table is based on the employees that they have. There's 4 bays for their equipment and trucks with a small office area to the south side. To the north side of the building, we're proposing outside storage, as this is a concrete company with forms and things like that. This is a gravel area that we're proposing to provide that outside storage. One of the things that's a little different about this gravel storage, and working with the town engineer, we came up with a different design. Rather than putting processed stone down, we've designed it with 3/4 inch crushed stone, a 6-inch layer. So it provides not only a stable base, but it's a pervious section where processed stone tends to pack very tightly and run off similar to that of pavement. This will allow water to percolate in through that surface, into the ground, whatever permeability is available in that soil, but it'll also store water. That's part of our storm drainage design, is that the capacity of that parking area, that 6 inches layer, will store a lot of that water and then allow it to leach out slowly towards the detention basins and water quality basins, which eventually will end up in the storm drainage system in Costello Road. One of the things that we need to ask the commission on this project is a waiver of section 3.18.4 of the zoning regulations regarding 100-foot separation for industrial uses from a residential zone. Before I get too far into the letter that I had provided to the commission, I'm going to put up a visual. This is a site plan, looks very similar to what I'm proposing today. This is a site plan that this commission approved, different members, of course, at that day, 12 years ago in 2009 for Ray Gagnon, for a very similar facility on the property. The building is located some 25, 26 feet from the westerly property line where the Cobblestone Homeowners Association is. The thought at that time was that this was a viable location if these lots at 1.7 acres and a couple 100 feet deep had to be subject to a 100-foot buffer for their industrial use. Half of the lots would be rendered unusable. And at that time, the commission felt that this was appropriate and approved this site plan. Unfortunately, that never did get built. So here we are today. So I submitted a letter to the town, directed to Chairman Payne, talking about the regulation. I won't read it verbatim, but there's 3 items or 3 reasons why we believe this commission should grant a waiver of that. And you are entitled to do that by a 2/3 majority if we meet certain conditions. First, Vegetation, if there's existing vegetation or proposed vegetation provided that provides an adequate screening, there's an aerial photograph that provides adequate screening from the residential area, then you have the right to waive that requirement. What we're looking at is an aerial photograph. I've superimposed our proposed lot and development with a proposed building in this location, and the yellow line is the property line. And we have from that property line to the back of the closest building, close to 200 feet of vegetation. It's full mature trees that have a height of at least 40 to 50 feet tall and very thick. That is existing vegetation. Now this is a condominium that is common space for the condominium, and it's unlikely that that would ever be cleared in the future. The second condition or item that can be considered is topography. When Costello Road, before Costello Industrial Park was built, it was towards the Berlin Turnpike, a gravel mine. And as you got towards the eastern part of the site, it turned into rock and they quarried the area. The back of these lots here, lots 5 where we are, lot 6, was a stone face. The elevation of our site is about 70 feet lower than the elevation of the backyards of these condominiums. Even if there weren't any trees there in their backyards, if they decided to clear cut, if you stood in the backyards, you won't see the top of the buildings unless you go to the cliff edge and lean over and look down. So there's a significant topographic difference, change in elevation between the two properties, which should negate any reason for having 100-foot separation in that area. And then thirdly, the proximity. This is a fully developed site. These buildings are built. There can be no more buildings built on this site because of density and things like that. And this closest building is 215 feet from the property line. So I hope the commissioners will agree that this property does warrant a waiver of the 100-foot requirement because of the conditions I've stated. I've enumerated that in my letter to the chairman, and I hope you feel the same way. Having said that, a couple cleanup items. We've landscaped it. I think the town staff has agreed that we have an adequate landscaping plan. We've got site lighting mounted on the building to provide security. As I'm sure we're all aware, these industrial sites have been a victim of robbery in increasing numbers in recent years. So they made sure to properly light the site for that issue. It will be served by city sewer and water. We are proposing to fence the area with a 6-foot chain link fence. The only exception to what you see on the plan is the town engineer has requested that we incorporate or enclose within the fenced area the stormwater quality basin in the front yard because it will hold water maybe for a day or so. So we've agreed to do that. And that would be a change to the plans that we've agreed to do with the town. We've met with the town staff. We've reviewed their comments. There's a couple of, besides that fence, there's a couple housekeeping issues with the drainage report, a couple numbers and details that need to be cleaned up. But I think we've got a nice complete package for the town, for the commission to vote on. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you may have them.
Thank you. Renata, would you like to give your report on this?
We essentially recommend the approval of this application. It has gone to the Wetlands Commission for determination of significance last night. It was deemed as not significant impact application that would trigger a public hearing. This is a property which is close to another property where similar waiver was given. There is a big amount of a pretty large amount of difference in the elevation, and topography is one of the specific items or specific issues that the commission can consider when granting the waiver. So with all that in mind, we recommend the approval of this. It's an
Okay, thanks.
industrial street, industrial property.
Okay, let's go to questions from commissioners. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. Through the chairman, Alan, we're getting to see you a lot lately, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
That's a good thing, though, because you're a good man. I just have a question on the topography. Now, you say as built, as it's being built, I mean, it is built already, the buffering requirements are met or not met?
So my statements regarding cobblestone is that they about a 215-foot setback from their rear property line to their closest building. Our proposal is to maintain the 25-foot industrial to residential buffer, but asking for a waiver of the 100-foot. The 100-foot is something outside of this application I think the commission should probably look at, because it's a little contradictory in ways. Again, that regulation was in place prior to this subdivision being created. And had the commission studied that regulation and looked at the impact to all these lots along the east side of the development, you take half of the buildable area away from them. And I don't think that's the intention here. I understand the need for the screening, and this is a unique site. It has, again, a 70-foot rock wall behind it that provides a huge buffer from anything to the east. Beyond that, you've got an adult stand of trees that is about 175 feet deep where the building's going to go. So this is a very unique situation, and I think it's an undue burden on the property. And again, the commission so thought the same in 2009 when they approved this with virtually the same application.
Yep, and we've consistently we've done this up and down the Berlin Turnpike. I believe when Tim Hortons came in next to Wendy's, we approved the same thing there. Is there any other questions from the commissioner, or did you have something else, Commissioner Fox?
Well, yes, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go right ahead if you have something else.
That's okay. Again, to the Commissioner Allen, one of the requirements is that the topography be so severe as, you know, you couldn't build it according to our regulations. How is this topography preventing you from building it according to regulation? I mean, you state that the buffer requirements are met, but you're citing the topography. Is that really a deterrent to your development?
It's not a deterrent to our development. So the reading of the regulation, and this is in the letter that I submitted, the third paragraph. The zoning regulations further state, quote, this regulation may be waived from the commission by a 2/3 vote for the purpose of allowing development in the buffer area where the existing land, landscaping or architecture in the adjacent residential zone is such that its residential character will not be impacted, or where severe topography on either side of the zone boundary will provide sufficient buffering on either side. So the zone line is our property line. The elevation of the condominiums, the average elevation in that area is about 210 feet. The average elevation of the site we're proposing is at 142 feet elevation wise. That's a 68-foot difference in elevation. If you looked at two platforms, the Payne Road site, the Costello Road site on lot 5 at 142, you butt up the condominium next to it at the property line, and you elevate that 68 feet higher on the zone line, which is the property line. That is our difference in topography, which reads directly into the way the regulation was written. And this is the same argument and the same evidence that was presented in Henry Vassal's site that this commission approved on lot 6 within the last few months.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Fox. Thank you, Mr. Bongiovanni. So that was just a few months ago. I was just going to ask Renata, just a few months ago, we approved the Henry Vassal building, and we approved that waiver. Is that correct, Renata?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. And I believe, if my recollection serves me well, that a similar discussion took place as well at that time. When the waiver was requested, the commission considered this topography element to be an element that actually created sufficient buffering in that situation.
Thank you. Is there any other commissioners have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Woods, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm using my raised hand, but I guess either you're not seeing it or it's not working.
I'm sorry. I have to see it up on participation. It's not popping at the bottom.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. So I understand completely. Again, I think the applicant has definitely met his burden here on asking for this waiver. He has showed us that he will not adversely affect the abutting residential section. And I believe this is consistent with actions that our board has taken over the last several years on pieces of property in here. So I see no reason not to grant the waiver. And I think it's a good use of the land, and I'm glad to see that Nadeau Brothers is looking to move back, or looking to move into Newington. I think that's a great win for the town of Newington.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that has any comments, any commissioners? Comments or questions? I think they have demonstrated that there is sufficient buffering here. I think this is has been gone over with Renata. Renata, there's nothing else that has to be cleaned up on this site plan?
Mr. Chair, there are some minor and technical comments that are outstanding, but there was a discussion between the applicant's engineer and our engineers, and we were present for it, and everything is adjustable and agreed upon.
And you're confident with everything. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions or comments from the commissioners, I would entertain a motion to move this to all old business.
Make the motion to move this to old business for action tonight.
Motion made by Commissioner Claffey. Do I have a second?
Second by Woods, Commissioner Woods.
Seconded by Commissioner Woods. Any comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously to move it to old business for possible action. So we will. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Renata. The next thing on the agenda is the interpretation of zoning regulations, section 3.101B, personal service shops of stores. Renata?
Yes, so we received a phone call here in the office from Mr. Nunez, and a number of emails were exchanged between both Eric and I and Mr. Nunez, who, as I explained in my cover letter, is interested in opening a doggy daycare facility on 94 Payne Road. As I explained, 94 Payne is in a planned development zone. The permitted uses in PD zone refer back a couple of sections, as is characteristic of our zoning regulations. None of the listed permitted uses, however, specifically allows doggy daycare facility. And the same is the case with the special permit uses in PD zone and then backwards through our regulations. So in our conversations and in reading the description of the proposed business, I felt that, and Mr. Nunez has asked for, that perhaps the commission could interpret this as a personal service shop or a store. I did not feel comfortable deciding that that was an appropriate category for this kind of use on my own. So I had invited them to attend the meeting, explain their business, and then I wanted to have you as a commission to tell me whether or not you believe that a doggy daycare facility, which essentially provides a daycare services and overnight boarding for dogs, would be an appropriate as a personal service. And do we consider, our pets persons when we treat them as they are persons? I mean, that's the extension I think that I took when I was reviewing this.
Okay. Should we let the the owner maybe explain business a little bit to the commissioners? I think might be a good idea.
So thank you very much for your time, Renata. Thank you so much for getting us on the agenda. Mr. Chairman Payne, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to explain what we're looking to do over at 94 Payne Road. So basically, we're looking to open as a doggy daycare facility with overnight boarding also available. So basically, this just gives the town residents and surrounding towns a place to drop off their dogs when they go to work. Basically, what we do is that, we play with the dogs, we run them, we feed them, we take them for their naps in the afternoon, and also just provide boarding for overnight stays if someone is in a business travel, for work, or if they're vacationing and they can't bring the pooch with them. We'd offer a place for them to stay, basically babysitting their dogs, feeding them, taking care of them.
Sure, I add also is basically the personal services is be considered. The dogs, we treat the dogs like almost like humans. Okay, everybody own a dog over there in this commission. No, we care for these animals as much as we care for person, and in part could be a personal assistant or a service, I should say, because we are going to take care a living being, basically like a person, most for the time they need to be during the day or the vacation for the person, everything. We're going to take care, we're going to feed, we're going to give a board, we're going to do a series of personal service, basically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Well, let me open it up to the commissioners. I think that this location is a perfect location for this type of business. But let me open it up to the commissioners. Commissioners, how do you feel? If we could go get your opinions. Renata is asking for your help on this.
I'll go first. I do think this fits that area. The previous area was a timber gym, which half the building was a place where I used to drop my kids off for birthday parties, and it would leave. And the back part was the playground building part of that business. So I'm not trying to, we're all trying to equate our animals to our dogs, but the previous facility was a birthday party place, half of it. So, I mean, it's, I kind of think it fits, it fits that area. There's also development coming behind it that, had a dog park incorporated with something we approved. So, I mean, it's almost like everything's aligning right on that road. But I do think this kind of is something that fits that area.
Thank you, Commissioner Glassy.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, if I can just also clarify one point. So the reason why I did not feel comfortable in deciding on this and deciding that this kind of use would be appropriate to be treated as a personal service is that personal services as a right use. So under many, many circumstances, and in at least 3 zoning districts, if not more, this would not even come to you. So you would have to, if we say now this use as described, this, this particular application fits the personal use, then, tomorrow I could get that for a business zone or some other location. It just opens it up, which is why I brought it to you. But I also believe that, we are doing a service for people that own dogs as well, because they drop their dogs because to board them while they're at work or traveling or something. So in that way, it also, in my mind, fits that personal service type of category.
thank you very much, Renata. Other commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Fox.
thank you. In looking at this, of course, I hearken back to something we had a while ago, and as mentioned, that one particular issue was a little unique, and it was in a residential area. But I don't see any reason why we can't approve this use, and therefore doggy daycares become personal services.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank you.
Fox. Thank you. Any other commissioners have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go right ahead, Commissioner Woods.
If I'm understanding this correctly, Renata's not really looking for us to approve this. She's just looking for us to be in agreement that they can use this as personal service shops or stores as a venue to get them what they're looking for. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
No, that is correct. And
Okay, so
if we are in agreement that this is a good location and it's a personal service, then Renata, I believe she would handle everything, and the staff would handle everything from here moving forward, because it would be by right. Is that correct, Renata?
That is absolutely correct, yes.
okay,
Thank
so yeah, then I am perfectly satisfied that this is an appropriate use for this type of service in that area.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Woods.
Yep.
Anybody else have an opinion on
I
it?
have one last
Yeah.
comment. I think this is a great opportunity. It's a great thing we were looking at, but the bigger question is how are some of our outdated definitions or lack of specific newer age things aren't in our regulations. So I think there's some, reading up on the memo from the town planner, I'm reading it that there may be some time over the near future to kind of bring some things up a little more toward the uniqueness, just like we did with the craft breweries and the brewery, et cetera, that wasn't in our regulations. So this to me is a lesson in that some of our rules are a little antiquated or not well defined to the new business mottos that are out there. Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Commissioner. Anybody else have an opinion on this? So I'm going to gather that everybody's in agreement that this would be in a personal service and the staff can handle this, moving this forward. Is that correct, everybody?
Yes,
Somebody-
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Rodana, does that satisfy you?
Absolutely, yes, thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Good luck to the applicants.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you
Thank
guys'
you.
time.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to work at the town. I live over here. I have many friends looking for a place like this. That's why I'm glad to do in my own town.
Fantastic. We're glad it's working out for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is we have old business and we have petition 39-21. If I could have Commissioner Claffey, if you could read that petition, please.
A petition 39-21, special permit, section 3.4.9, to allow creation of an interior lot to convert two non-conforming lots with respect to frontage into two conforming lots at 268 Willard Avenue. Applicant Glenda Lara, contact Jessica Lara, owner Glenda and Jose Lara.
Thank you. Okay, we have a suggested motion. If you want to continue.
Petition 39-21, special permit, section 3.4.9, to allow creation of an interior lot to convert two non-conforming lots with respect to frontage into two conforming lots at 268 Willard Avenue. Applicant Glenda Lara, contact Jessica Lara, owner Glenda and Jose Lara. Move to approve the special permit for creation of an interior lot at 268 Willard Avenue. Reason for the approval: the proposed petition meets the interior lot requirements as in section 3.4.9 of the Newington zoning regulations.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Claffey. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Havens.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. Any comments or questions? If everybody could unmute their phone, their tablet. Everybody all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Beg your pardon?
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind doing the roll call on this.
I can do that. Noreen, if you could do a roll call, please.
What are you having?
Commissioner Claffey,
Aye.
Commissioner Fox,
Aye.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Commissioner Braverman.
Yes.
Unanimous.
How about me?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yes. Unanimous. Yep. Thank you very much, Noreen.
You're welcome.
Okay, very good. The next petition is on old business is 38-21. If we could have the motion up for that. And Commissioner Havens?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, this is a continued public
Oh.
hearing.
Oh,
There should be
38-21 is,
no motion
yep.
on this.
I'm sorry. So we have, do you have a motion for petition 41-21? So 41-21 Commissioner Havens, if you could continue, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Petition 41-21, site plan approval at 203 Costello Road. Applicant NATO Brothers Foundation LLC, owner 203 Costello Road LLC, contact Alan Bongiovanni. Move to approve the site plan application for 203 Costello Road. Reasons for the approval: the proposal meets the site plan criteria in section 5.3 of the Newington zoning regulations.
Motion made by Commissioner Havens. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by
Claffey.
Commissioner Claffey. Any questions or comments? Noreen, if you could do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Claffey,
Aye.
Commissioner Fox,
Aye.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Commissioner Braverman,
Yes.
Chairman Payne,
Yes,
unanimous.
unanimous. Congratulations to the applicant, Nadeau Brothers. Welcome to Newington. Okay, I think we have everything. We're on, we have petitions for public hearing scheduling. We'll go right into the town planners report.
So I will just start really briefly with the future agenda. You have coming the application on Culver Street and Deming Road. That is that proposal for apartment building. And then there is 301 Hartford Avenue. This is a bulk company, Tilcon. They come to you biannually for review of their activities on the site plan. This is a condition of the original site plan, so they have submitted for that biannual review. That is on the agenda tentatively for October 13th. The Conservation Commission has scheduled a public hearing, has decided that the Culver Street development is either of significant impact or it is of public interest. And with that, they scheduled a hearing for it. So we have that on your agenda for the site plan and special permit application on October 27th. Prior to that, though, on the first meeting in October, they will come to the Planning Commission, or at least that's the tentative schedule right now, with the proposal for the zoning map amendment. That zoning map must be effective before we can undertake special permit and site plan, which makes the scheduling actually really good. They sequenced everything very well. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about is whether you remember or not. In August, I had done a presentation and gave you a synopsis, like a little snippet of these new laws that got passed effective July 1 under the state statutes that were changed. There were several changes, and I talked about that and what that meant for us as a town. One of the things that I had indicated to you then that would change was this, this provision that exists in the general statute now. And Eric, if you can show that page 11 that we have, that essentially says that no regulation, our zoning regulations cannot require more than one parking space for a studio and one bedroom dwelling unit, or more than two parking spaces for dwelling unit with two or more bedrooms. This regulation becomes, this state statute becomes effective October 1. Once that happens, our zoning regulation with regards to parking will become effectively non-compliant with the state statute. We also talked about the opt-out provisions, and this falls within the opt-out. This is one of the two opt-out provisions that are allowed under new statute. The other one, the ADU opt-out provision, has a set deadline by which the commission must either opt out or not. The parking one doesn't have a set deadline. It is an open-ended, presumably, unless there is an error and somebody fixes it at some point, this opt-out situation can happen at any time. We have also seen, as I came on board, number of residential applications roll through my office. And each and every time when they come, we notice that, you know, these developers whose field the residential development is are telling us, you don't need two parking spaces per one bedroom dwelling unit. That's excessive. We have so many units and our ratio is so and so and so and so. So I'm informing you, I guess, that starting October 1, our regulations will no longer be consistent with the state statutes, which means that we could get an application that proposes less than 2 parking spaces, and that we would have to approve that. I would like to keep this situation currently as is and test this out. From all the research that I have been able to gather, it is my understanding that there is a sweet spot of about 1.3 parking spaces per development, residential development that includes 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. So for across board, there is that kind of a requirement. So having 1 per 1 bedroom is, at least seemingly right now, not a bad ratio to have. So that's what I'm telling you. If you tell me now that we need to, I'm sorry, but this light keeps on switching off. If you tell me now that we need to start looking into this or looking into an opt-out provisions, we can do that. As I again said that before, I would like to start the opt-out conversation on both of these things after the elections, because I just don't want any kind of political influences generating over the matters that are truly land use matters and that are provable by data and statistics.
All right, thank you, Renata. So basically, you're in agreement with the state requirements of 1.3 parking spaces per unit. Is that what the state's
No, state is saying that we cannot have a regulation that requires more than 1 parking space for studio and 1 bedroom dwelling, or no more than 2 for 2 and more. So for the developments where we have a number of studios and 1 bedroom units, we will be requiring only 1 parking space for now.
So you think we should be using
again,
3 ratio? Okay.
I think if we start talking about changing parking regulations or opting out, then if we change this, we should change it to maybe 1.3 or 1.5 ratio. Definitely not keep it at 2. That is that is just instinctively and from all of my experience entirely too much.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that the 2 is definitely way too much parking for these developments. I'll open it up to commissioners. How do you feel, commissioners, on this parking? Do you agree with the town planner? I'll go down the line. Commissioner Claffey.
Yeah, I agree. I think we leave it in her hands to gain as much information as she has, and if anything else comes, but it's definitely I think she's in the right pattern here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Woods?
Yes, I agree with the planner. I can support her position on this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lenars?
I've always felt that the parking requirements were a little tough. So easing them up, I think, would be in our best interest within the town and support the action going forward for sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Lenars. Commissioner Braverman?
I'm in agreement. I don't have any complaint against any of them, so I'm for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Braverman. Commissioner Fox?
I do not have a problem with it at all, and I have every confidence that town planner will do a good job in making sure that we adhere.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commissioner Fox. Commissioner Haggerty?
No complaints. In favor of.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Havens?
I'm in agreement with the town planner.
Okay, thank you. And I see Commissioner Gill is here. Commissioner Gill, do you have any comments?
I'll go along with the town planner. Sounds good.
Thank you. Very good. Renata, is there anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anything under communications?
I do not have anything under communications.
Okay. We'll open it up to public participation. For items not listed on the agenda, speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Within Zoom application, raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling into Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand. To be recognized, use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. State your name and address for the record. Is there anybody wishing to speak from the public? Anybody wishing to speak?
Doesn't appear anyone on the public side. has their
Thank you
hand
very
raised.
much. Okay, hearing none, we'll go to remarks by commissioners. If anybody has any remarks, the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Fox.
the only remark I would have right now, considering the lack of public participation, I guess everybody's happy.
Well, that could be. That could be Commissioner Fox, yes. Thank you.
Maybe.
Anybody else? Any other commissioners? I want to thank everybody. It was a very good meeting. I want to thank Eric and Renata for running the program tonight. Everything went well. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good night, everybody, and
Good-
thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.